This is slightly modified, so, except for Dale, I think you're the only one. Oh, and, no, you weren't there, So except for Dale, I
I've
think.
heard him talk about Evernote before.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
So the title, I decided to call it Evernote. You can organize your business, focus your business, and hopefully help you succeed. So this is an image that I can probably put on Pinterest. I found it on Google Images, actually, and I think it really represents what we're going through today, right? So we have many, many hats that we're wearing, and we're driving in a direction, whether it's business, whether it's personal things, and we have to carry all these hats with us all the time, right? So the challenge is then, we could be at a meeting for something, and we could be, an idea comes to our head for another project that we're working on. So this is actually, it's some physics or electrical circuit or something, but I think that can represent what's going on in our brains today, right? There's so many different nodes going on and so many different projects that we're involved in, and at any time, we can be thinking about one thing or have an idea about one thing even though we're somewhere else, or driving down the road, or, taking a nap, something. So we have to-do lists, we have ideas that come in our head, we have notes that we want to take, whether it's a client meeting, whether it's a meeting with a colleague. There's sometimes on Twitter we see quotes that we really appreciate, that we want to keep. We have articles that we'd like to read, but we can't read them at the time. For me personally, code snippets is great because as I'm working on a website, there's sometimes repetitive work, so I can copy that code snippet and use it, so I have it in one place, and then as I need it for a specific client, I can just use that code snippet. Again, client projects, my own projects, documentation, so just to make a list of things that would make things easier as I go about doing anything. If I'm doing research, I can take notes. Emails, I can start working on emails in my Evernote. So really, it's a tool, as I will cover in the next few minutes. You can use it for anything you want to help you stay organized. And I know Danny is a power user of Evernote also, so please chime in if you feel appropriate.
I use it as a recipe book, cookbook.
Yeah.
I use it.
It's one of the notebooks I have.
Evernote, awesome, cool.
I signed up but haven't started using it.
You will love it when you do. You will.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays, we have at least multiple devices. We at least have, well, almost everybody has a phone, a computer, maybe more than one computer, maybe you have a tablet, maybe you have a phone for your home or your personal use and one for business. So we have multiple devices, right? And the challenge is, how do you keep connected with all these devices? So if I'm walking down the street and I have my phone, I probably should stop if I'm trying to type something on my phone so I don't run into anything. But if I'm writing a note to myself, or if I'm recording a note to myself, right? And then I leave my phone, well, my phone is with me all the time, so that maybe that's a bad example. But let's say I forget it somewhere, right? And I'm on my computer now, and I'm trying to work on a blog post, and I'm saying, wait a minute, I remember what I said in the phone, but I don't remember exactly what I said. I remember I made a note to myself, so I need to have access to that note even though I don't have access to the device, right? So we have multiple devices and we need something that connects all these devices. So one approach you can do that is to have a notebook, right? So you,
It's like mine.
yeah?
Is that yours?
Did I write that?
Is that
No.
yours?
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's not.
Just a picture.
Actually, the last time I owned a notebook was in 2003, I think, so.
No, I've seen the notebook.
So this is a great way to do it, right? You can have a notebook, you can write everything in it. You can write recipes, you can write your addresses, you can write your phone numbers, you can write ideas, but then you have to carry it with you all the time, right? Because that way you can have access to it anywhere you go. The second challenge with this is that if you have one notebook that you cover everything in, let's say you're looking for Susan's phone number, you're like, oh, I have to go, and you have to scroll through all the pages, you have to flip through all the pages
Techie.
until you find Susan's phone number, right? And that can be very inefficient. So the two problems that I see with just a standard notebook is that you have to carry it with you all the time. So if you forget it in the car, and you're at a meeting, you don't have access to it. And the second thing would be it would be difficult to find information in it. So if you take that analogy of a notebook, so you can visualize a notebook, right? Something you can write notes in that has pages. But I want you to take that and imagine a stack of notebooks. So not just one book, just a whole stack of them, up to 250, for example. Okay? where you can add and organize notes, you can remove pages, you can actually add voice notes in it, not just written notes. You can add pictures, and then you can also fit it in your pocket. Wouldn't that be awesome? The answer is yes.
Yes, yes, Sherif.
Yes, it would.
And this is precisely what Evernote does. Evernote is an app, it's a program, it's on multiple devices, I'll get into that a little bit. But really, you can add anything into it. You can add voice notes, you can add checklists, you can add to-do notes, images, text, I'm probably repeating myself. Yeah, text, voice memos.
What
Yes.
can't you do in it? I mean, because it sounds like,
You can
Just
email
that-
straight from it, I know you can do that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you can't do.
Well, we can probably think of things it can't do.
Okay.
For example, you can't make it do lunch for you or get coffee for you. Anything related to
But
the
it will
computer.
give you the recipe.
That's right. Or directions to the coffee shop, right? The powerful thing about Evernote, though, is that this little piece called Cloud, and the reason that's important is this is how you can connect all your devices. So everything you enter in a device, whether it's your phone, whether it's your computer, when you enter into Evernote, it syncs to a web server, and therefore can sync with any device that you have. Okay? So this is really powerful because this is the key to making it accessible wherever you are. Evernote.com, you'll be able to download web clippers for your computer, desktop, for your phones, your smartphones, all platforms, your tablets, and also there are, for every major browser, there is an app you can add to the browser where if you're on a website and you can just clip a piece of the article, or you can clip the URL, or you can save it for future. If you see an image, you can right-click and add it to EndNote. I'm sorry, I keep saying EndNote. Evernote. It's actually a different program called EndNote. It's different. So it's, again, it can be on your devices, on your computer, and also on the browsers, because oftentimes in your browser, you can see something, and then you can clip it and add it to your Evernote account. So it's cross-platforms, whether it's Windows or Mac or Linux, and devices also. So you can think of Evernote as your personal search engine. Phil Libin, I don't know exactly how to say his name, but he's the CEO, he's the founder of Evernote, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing, the quote is much longer, but the essence of it is that Google is a great tool that indexes contents that is public information, right? But we needed something more personal. We needed something that can handle our own personal information. So it would be as if Google or a search engine is indexing everything that you do, right? And if you think about it this way, is if everything that you do or everything that you want to do is on Evernote, then it covers every aspect of your life. It covers all the things you'd like to do or things that you should be doing, and therefore we would have access to it. So tools, including Evernote, are great. They're awesome. They can make your life very easy if you use it correctly, or if you find a way to use it correctly. But similar to that image, sometimes it can be very hard to get started with, right? So this is a great tool, but how do I make it useful to me, right? So the item we have to identify then is what need or gap that you feel about your business life or your organization. Productivity, in terms of productivity, how do you organize your life, what you do that can be helped or that you can use to satisfy, or use Evernote to satisfy those needs and gaps. And actually this principle, this is a person trying to push a rock down a hill, but there's a little hill will make it very difficult for him to push that rock. And there's actually a principle in chemistry, and I come from a science background, so I get excited about these things, but it's called the activation energy, and it's the amount of energy that's required before a reaction can take place. So for any two compounds or two chemicals to take place to react with each other, there's a specific amount of energy. Okay, I'm going to stop.
no, it's fascinating.
Isn't it?
I understood.
So anyway, to make a long story short, with tools, it's the same thing. It's great, it's there, you can use it, but how do you really make it fit? Exactly, right. And how do you make it satisfy a need or a gap that you have? And hopefully we'll cover that today. That way tonight, or maybe later today, you can all download Evernote if you don't have it already. Or if you have it and you haven't figured out how to use it, you can figure that out. But again, to kind of go into the concept of Evernote. So Evernote is very simple, okay? So you have a note that you can write something in it, whether you text or video or audio. You can organize those notes into notebooks. Can you see okay? And Evernote has a limitation at this time, 250 notebooks, which is plenty of notebooks. And then you can organize all these notebooks into stacks. For each note, it has certain attributes. Remember when I was referring to using it as a search engine to index all of your information? So these are the attributes that can help you organize your notes. So each note would have a title, would have a content, obviously, and again, that can be text, images, or it can be an audio content. And it has attributes, and these can be very powerful in how you want to use Evernote. So everything automatically gets a date when it was created or updated, the time, obviously, and you can include tags to it. So if you're working on a client project, for example, you can have a tag as the client name. Or if you're working on a project, and tags can really specify, so you can have things that are or common to different notebooks, but tags can differentiate it. That way, you can think of a tag as a keyword, right? So if you are, let's say I am working on a code snippet that relates to WordPress, for example, then the tag can be WordPress, right? And it can have multiple tags. That way, if I'm interested in anything in my notebooks that relate to WordPress, I can search for the tag WordPress, and then I can see everything I've written about WordPress. You can think of it as goals also. So let's say you have multiple projects and you have a goal in project 1, I want to accomplish this, and in project 2 you want to accomplish something else. So if you tag each of those notes with goals, and let's say you're doing a planning session and you want to just search for the tag goals and see all the goals you have, and you can think about them each. Does that make sense?
So it's different than a title.
Yes.
Okay, it's like a keyword, you're right.
And thank you for stopping me. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me, because sometimes I can get excited and get carried away. Or if I use a term that you're not familiar with, please stop me, okay?
Real quick question.
Yes, sure.
Are tags always one word?
No.
You have to use quotes?
When you're searching, you have to use quotes. If you're searching for, I think the examples they use, if you want to have recipes, for example, right? And then you want to have rum cake recipes or maybe carrot cake recipes, right? So if you're searching for recipes, you can just search for the tag recipes. If you're trying to search for only for carrot cake recipes, for example, you have to use quote. Otherwise, it will just pull anything that has recipes in it. Does that
But
make
when
sense?
you create the tag for
Yes.
the carrot cake, do you
Uh-huh.
put carrot cake or
Oh, yeah,
just
that's fine.
carrot and then another word cake?
No, it can be more than one word. Yep.
But
Carrot
do you
cake.
put the quotes in?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
it's just when you're doing the search?
Yes, yes. Okay, so this is how it looks on the, remember I mentioned that it come with any different browser or different platform. So this is what the platform looks like in a Mac. On my computer, a screenshot from my Mac. And you can see that it looks like Outlook, doesn't it? Or similar, where you have here on the right side, you have different, on the left side, you can have different notes. On the right side, you have the area where you can control what goes into the note. And notice there's a title up here. For this one, it's called testing. Okay, so you can call it whatever you want. You can always change that. And you also notice that this is in a notebook called presentation, so you can change that or assign a notebook to it. These are the tags. So again, this is just a test, an example. So in this case, I labeled the tags of my goals and my to-do. Okay, but you can include as many tags as you like. And then you'll notice also that it has, very similar to word processing platforms, you can change the font, you can change the size, you can change the color, you can make something italics, bold, so you can control how the note looks. You can also create a checklist. So if you have a list of things to do, you can create a checklist and you can check it off as you go through the list. You can also add images, as I showed. I was just being funny here, but my 2012 goals was the first one to become less famous. And the second one is to swim with dolphins. And then let's say if I forgot, well, what is a dolphin? I forgot what a dolphin looks like. So I can include an image of a dolphin. That way it kind of refreshes my memory as I'm going through my to-do list. Okay? And you'll notice on the very, very left side, you see the list of notebooks. So you can see I have many notebooks. And I'll go into a little bit more, but I decided to keep all my 2012 receipts, all my receipts from this year in one notebook. I won't show it today, but, and then I can have, client notes. So as I'm meeting with a client, I can take notes on my, on the computer and code snippets. And I organize those all these three notebooks. I can organize it under a stack, okay? And I decided to call that Connections, or my company name, okay? So you can organize your notes by stacks. And the stacks are just for organization. There's nothing that actually goes into the stack except the notebook, right? So you can't add a note to a stack. It's just, the stack is made up of notebooks. Okay, so you'll notice on, I highlighted in red here, but this is really neat too. You notice, and it might vary a little bit from your own device or where you're using it, but you'll see an arrow on the top right-hand side, and if you click on it, it'll allow you to give you access to share it on Facebook, on Twitter, or if you copy the URL, it actually creates a URL for that note, so you can share it with someone else. So I think that's a cool way to share information with someone else, right from your Evernote.
You can also email it, right? Or did you say that? I'm sorry.
I'll get to that actually, but not, oh yeah, you can email it right there.
I do that to her. She gets so confused.
Yeah, email the note, but
You do.
now while we're in the topic of sharing, it can also be a very powerful tool to share or collaborate with people, with maybe people in your team. And if you have a notebook that you'd like to share that more than one person is working on, you can right-click on that notebook, and the options that will come up, you'll see the second one is Share Notebook, okay? So when you click on there, it will allow you to share with specific people, with specific email addresses. Currently, I'm using that, I'm not sure if, maybe almost everybody knows, but I got engaged last December, and we're planning a wedding, and so I created a notebook, and I shared it with my fiance, and as we see things that, make us excited, or things that we like, we can put in that notebook, and then we both have access to it. Yes?
Google Docs has some of these same features, but to what extent does this expand on what Docs will do?
Google Docs is great. I use it a lot just for documents, but I typically think of it as documents only, whereas you can expand Google Docs. Certainly, you can add images and checklists. You can do similar things, but I like this because it's very, the apps for it on my phone, it's much faster than Google Docs. So it's much, and I have access to it. And I don't know if you can really take an audio note
Probably not.
with Google Docs. They may be working on it. There may be something that can easily add, but
The other thing, on the phone, this type screenshot doesn't come up. I mean, this is what I get.
yes.
So
I'll
That's
go over
the
that.
phone app, yes,
Yeah.
the mobile app.
Right.
I like the mobile
Do you, Sherif, do you mainly use it on your phone or on your laptop? Or
Both.
Both.
Yeah,
Both.
everywhere.
Mhm.
No, what I meant, I was asking what he does,
Oh, okay.
because it's easier to use it on the laptop, in my
It is.
opinion,
Yes.
but I
But
need to be able to use it on.
Accessing it on the phone, on the go is,
it is. It's
Yeah.
great. And I have access to things I entered on the computer. And I would say the most common use for it on my phone is, in addition to taking notes, is tweets. And I'll get to that a little
Oh,
bit as
okay.
I'm mostly going on because with Twitter, I just go, when I have some downtime from standing in line, and go through my Twitter feed and just to go through ones. And if I see one that's intriguing that I obviously can't read the article while I'm standing in line, I just share it with myself, and it gets added to my notebook. And so it would be there on the computer when I can just follow the link and do that. But I'll get into that a little bit more later. But with the mobile app, it's really cool because again, you can take audio notes, you can take an image and share it with myself, add it to Evernote, or if you just type it. The one caveat about sharing notebooks though is, so Evernote is free, okay? You can use it, it's a very powerful tool for free, but there's a premium version to it, and when you're sharing a notebook as a free subscriber, if I'm not a premium subscriber, I shared a notebook with Dale, I'm the only one who can edit it. Dale can only view it, okay? But if I'm a premium subscriber, I can share a notebook with Dale, and even though Dale is not a premium subscriber for Evernote, I can say, you can have Dale view it or add things to it. Okay, so this is just one minor benefit you can have for
Is there
premium.
also a limit of what you can put up there? Because I've been using the free version for a while,
Mhm.
then I bumped up against the thing that, sorry, you got too much stuff.
Did you? Wow.
Yeah, please
Okay.
get the premium.
Yeah.
I thought there was a monthly limit, but I didn't know
60
that there
megabytes.
was.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Do you have
maybe
a lot
it
of
was the
pictures?
size?
Well,
Well, I clip web pages like crazy
Oh, that's.
for later
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah,
It was
I
no
think
big
there's
deal, I think it was like $50 a year. so-
$5 a month, yeah.
Yeah,
or
something
50,
like
45
that,
a
so I
year,
said,
yeah.
okay, why not?
Right, right. I think it's worth it. I'm premium, even though I'm nowhere close to the limit, because most of the things I add is text-based, I just subscribe for the, because it's, and this is, I won't talk about it today, unfortunately, I don't think we'll have time, but I think the business model for Evernote is really fascinating. I will share with you a link to the article, though. It was Company of the Year, actually last year, as determined by Inc. magazine, INC, Inc. And they talk about it in details, and there's some fascinating background behind the company and how it grew to the size it is today, and their business model and their business philosophy also. So I encourage you to read that article. I'll share it with you in a few minutes. Okay, let's see. One thing that I'd like to, as a tip, when you're using Evernote, so you can have multiple notebooks. You can have things for your receipts, for tweets that you see, for ideas for blog posts. All those things are great. I recommend, though, to have one notebook called Inbox. And the reason for that is, as you're going about your day, sharing things about yourself, you can, why are you smiling? Just kidding. Inbox. And the reason for that is it's very powerful in, as you add things, it goes right to your inbox, and then you can categorize it later, right? So on the run, everything that you enter goes automatically to your inbox notebook, and then you can categorize it later. Hope I didn't see something funny.
Who's smiling?
Nobody. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, sorry. Okay, so there's a,
That's the big panic.
What, was it me? I don't know. Oh. Gosh, Brian.
Yeah.
okay, so as David already noticed, there's a mobile-specific version for this, for the app. It's, again, if you search for it, it's on BlackBerry, iPhone, or iOS, and your Android also. And this is, it looks like, this is the screen capture of what it looks like on an Android device or platform. And you can see the home area here. This is the thing you see, and right away you can click on New Note, and then you can type, or you can take a snapshot, so you can take a picture of something you see, and then add it to your Evernote. You can view things by tag, or you can view your notebooks, and then you can see your shared notebooks. And then you can also see all your notes. So right there, you can do pretty much everything. If you clicked on your notebooks, you'll see a list of your notebooks. And this, as I mentioned, would sync out right away with the one that you have on your computer or the one that you have on the web. Okay? This is something, it's a widget that's specific for Android. I'm sure other devices have it also. I love this because I don't have to actually go to the app. This is a widget you can have it on your computer. I'm sorry, on your screen, your home screen, and it's right there. The widget is there, and you can add right away. Or if you click on the camera one, it will open up the camera and then take a picture of something, and right away can add it as a note. Or you can click on the microphone button and add something as a video, or I'm sorry, as an audio note. And then this button that looks like a heart, and it's called Sketch, and this is an app that I won't cover today, but this is really neat. It's a really neat app that I'd recommend. It's also made by Evernote, also it's free, but you can actually open an image and you can annotate an image. So you can add arrows, you can add a box, you can add text to it. So it's a cool way to annotate images that you have on
And what's it called, what did you
Sketch.
say? Oh, yeah, that's
But
right.
you have to add that
Yes.
as another app?
It's a separate
It's an
product.
add-on.
Yes.
Add on, okay.
And it's a standalone product. You don't need Evernote to use it, but
Okay.
And how do you get that widget? Just as in the marketplace
Yes.
on Android?
yes.
Well, if you install Evernote and you go to add widget, add something to
okay.
your screen,
You can
It
get
comes
the
up
link
as
very
one of the
similar,
widgets and
yes.
you'll see Evernote listed.
I think I downloaded something separate, but I think you're right though. With Evernote, it comes with a widget feature too. You can add to your.
Verify that.
I have it
Well-
on my phone.
I know I downloaded two things, but it might come directly with the app, with adding a widget to your home screen or in your home screens.
Yeah, mine looks exactly like that, but underneath it has my most recent notes.
You can do it both formats, right?
And
Yep,
it came
you
with
got a
Evernote
widget,
and
it's there.
downloads.
Is it?
You don't have to download it, so.
Okay.
Alright, you find it.
Where, on which?
Everybody's like, how do I do
Everybody's
this?
looking at their cell phones now. Not Sherif.
If anybody needs help with installing the widget, you can talk to me afterwards. I
Okay.
like that stuff.
Just like adding any other widget.
Or anybody who knows how to do it.
Alright.
In addition to the app itself, where you can add note, text, and videos, I keep saying video, audio, and other things. If you are on Twitter, or if you are on your mobile browser, on mobile phone browser, or anywhere else really, and you click share, it will open up the share features. So you can share it on Facebook, you can share something on Twitter, or if you have the app downloaded, it will ask you, or if you click on the Evernote, it will share it with yourself on Evernote. So this is how I use it to share things. If I'm on my mobile browser and I see a great article and I can't finish it, and I'd like to read it later, I can share it with myself. It goes right into my inbox or my notebook, my default notebook, and it's there. So when I get to my computer or later, I can find it in my inbox and then read it there. So this is how I use it. This is how I mostly use it as I'm on the web browsing, or if I see a tweet and I share it with myself. So far I've covered that you can share things on your computer, your desktop, on your mobile phone. I didn't cover tablet, but tablet app is very similar to your mobile phone. The third feature, which is really awesome, is by email. If you, with any Evernote account that you create, you have an email assigned, and my particular email looks like this. Next is that's my username dot some sequence of letters and numbers, and at m.evernote.com. So if I right now send an email, or actually maybe one of you guys send an email to this email address, it will go right into my inbox. Okay, so there's different ways you can use it. You can capitalize on that, but if I have an important email address or an important email message I'd like to share with myself, I want to keep it for my records, I can CC or BCC that email address and it goes right into my Evernote inbox. So it will be a great way to do that. The other thing is that if you have, maybe that doesn't apply here, but if you have a cell phone that does not allow you to have the app, you can send an email to that email address, or if you send anything to that email address, it will get categorized to your Evernote. Yes?
So in other words, instead of going to the app or to your computer to create a note, you just simply just email it and it goes right into your
Yes.
inbox area. Okay.
And on the website, they have ways where you can tell it to go to different notebooks. So in the subject, you can say, hashtag this, it would know it's a tag, or at, it would know which notebook, and so on and so forth. So from the email subject and from the subject of the email, you can determine where that note goes. Otherwise, it goes to the default one where you can categorize it later when you get to your computer. Does that make sense? But I think that's a very powerful tool also, because especially for email, if you get an important email that you don't want to lose, that you don't want to accidentally delete, or you don't want to accidentally, it goes away on your phone, you can just CC that message or send that message directly to your email, to your Evernote inbox. As I mentioned, I think this issue came out in December of 2011, and these are the guys behind Evernote. Oh, and the article actually down at the bottom, I'm sure we'll share the slides with you, so if you go to Inc.com and find the magazine link, you see the article there, and it's there for free. I recommend reading the article if you're interested. One of the things they did in the article was they surveyed famous people. I think probably most of you would recognize Guy Kawasaki at the very right. He's he's an author and does many things. And in that box, they show you how these guys, or how these people use Evernote, what they like about it. but I decided to do my own version of that. And I use it mostly to save tweets for later reading. That's the primary reason why I'm using it on the phone. I keep progress on projects, I take notes. I use it to, if I'm running around town and I see something that's, creates an idea or inspires me to write something, I can add an idea. This is something that's dear to my heart. I got a lot of ideas for blog posts, and when I have the time, I can write those blog posts. I can make, if I sit down for an hour and mention or list 10 tweets I would like to write, and I may not be able to send all of them at the same time, but at least I have them in my list, and then I can take those tweets, put them into a tool like Garius.com, for example, and then it can schedule those tweets for me. As I mentioned, also can create code snippets in it, documentation, and finally, on a personal note, wedding planning. Yeah.
Is there a way to get it directly from Evernote to Garius?
Probably not.
Copy and paste or?
Yeah.
I actually use that when I'm writing some of the smart group tweets. I do use Evernote.
I write all those.
I only write the boring ones, guys.
My favorite tricks from Evernote is OCR, optical character recognition. I think that's what it stands for. I'll show you 2 examples of it that's very powerful. That would make it very cool. And also sharing folders. I think that's a really neat idea to collaborate with people, with others. In this case, it's Janae, my fiance, and we're collaborating on our wedding planning. One of my goals is to eliminate almost all paperwork. It's such a hassle having paperwork.
Expensive too.
It's expensive, but again, it goes back to the same problem, is that if the paperwork is in a folder sitting in my office in a cabinet somewhere, and I am meeting with somebody across town, that paperwork is no use to me. So I'm, aside from environmental reasons, I think eliminating paperwork is just useful and efficient. Do you have a question? Oh. Okay, so I want to show you 2 examples of OCR that's very powerful. So actually I was meeting recently with someone who we made a purchase online, and then I took a capture of it and decided, I wonder how good that thing is, right? So I did a search. So I uploaded this as a note to my Evernote account, right? As we're sitting on the computer. So I took a picture of that with my phone, and right there it went to my Evernote account. And then decided later, well, I remember I made this purchase for something called wish list, something or other. So I typed in my search wish list at the very top, and even though this was an image, it actually identified wish list right here, right? Which I think is really cool, because sometimes you are running around and take a picture of something, and then later you're like, well, I can't remember when I took it, or what notebook I put it in, or whatever, or maybe 3 years down the line, you're like, I know it was the product was called this, but how do I find it now? So doing the search would immediately recognize the image, and therefore would bring it up. This is even cooler. So when Janae and I we're still haven't finalized yet the reception plans, but we were interviewing somebody for a reception site for our wedding, and I'm taking notes with hand. Okay, so I'm writing notes, and the person shared with us, kids will eat this, and it's how much per kid, and so on. So I'm writing this in my notes, and then just for testing purposes, right, I took a picture of that page, and then I did a search for the word kids, and guess what? It recognized it, even though it wasn't the prettiest handwriting, it still recognized it. And again, it may not work all the time, but it can certainly help you even if you take notes by hand, or if you come up with a great idea and put it in a napkin, just take a picture of it, and then that, therefore.
Throw the napkin away.
Yes, or you can keep the napkin, just frame it on the wall, if it becomes way too
$1 million
successful.
idea.
Yes, yes,
You mentioned receipts, which
Yes.
is a huge thing for
Sure.
because they fade.
uh-huh.
Why do you keep your receipts in this? Because of fading, or?
I decided to do that to try to test it out to see how feasible that is, but not necessarily it's just for my records. That way I don't have to keep a physical receipt. Probably may be a good idea to keep the physical receipt anyway. Maybe Brian can comment on legality of, maybe not, but keep putting you on the spot, I'm sorry. But an accountant may need a physical receipt, but for your own record, if you're trying to tally up at the end of the year your expenses.
So you take a a shot of the
Yes.
receipt itself
Right.
and save that.
So I would think that actually be faster than what I've been doing, which is scanning in my receipts.
Oh.
Oh,
And then
gosh,
saving
yes.
them in files.
Yes,
So-
much
Can you
faster.
ever print out that receipt from Evernote if you had to?
I've never tried to do that, but I'm sure you can.
Because that way you would physically have the receipt.
Right.
Yeah.
You can print directly from
You
Evernote.
can? Okay, I've never tried it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would imagine so. And Danny confirmed it. So. If you have problems with it, talk to Danny. Yeah.
I should have had
I
you
print
do
my
the
grocery
presentation.
lists.
Can you then probably do the OCR if you're looking for a certain receipt?
Yeah,
Mhm.
right.
Great.
There's something that, if you are really interested in this and really are committed to eliminating your paperwork, but you have all this papers that you'd like to get rid of, there's a device, a scanner you can buy where you can use it to scan things, receipts or paperwork, whatever, and
Business
then,
cards.
yeah, right, and it automatically takes it to your Evernote. So it's a device that's designated to work with or communicate with Evernote. So you can scan things and then it goes to your Evernote.
Oh,
I think, I forget how
How much
much,
is
but
it?
200 maybe, 300, something like that. So, I'll give everybody one. Yeah.
we'll have a drawing for one.
No, we'll buy everyone one for each one. Okay, so, hopefully, does anybody have any questions, just random questions about Evernote? Steve?
You say you save tweets, how do you
Yeah.
save a tweet into Evernote?
So if I'm on, I use Tweetcaster for my
Yeah.
phone, and then if I click on the tweet and then click share,
Oh.
it comes up. So
You share it
Facebook, yeah,
to
you can,
Evernote.
right.
Oh, okay.
Does it work with TweetDeck?
I haven't tested it, but it's built into the app knows, it's built into your device. So even if I'm on the browser and I click share, Evernote comes up, so I'd imagine with the tweet.
Okay.
The device would recognize that Evernote is a method to share it, so it would come up. Okay. So how do we can use Evernote for social media? And I think this is, again, as I mentioned, on my phone, this is probably the most I'm using Evernote for, is to save tweets that I see that I'd like to read for later, okay? And I'm using it to save awesome stuff that I see that others people are doing. A lot of times I see things on Twitter, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. Or on Facebook or on Google+, and if I see it and I can't read it at the time, I just share it with myself. And that could be a great idea. It can inspire blog posts that I can write, it can inspire things that I can change about my business, so I think that's very powerful. So as I'm on my phone, if I see a tweet, a blog post, an article, an image, anything that I see that would inspire me later, then I immediately share it with myself. Web bookmarks. I'm currently using Google Bookmarks, but I'm trying to transition to use Evernote I can keep all the web posts that I see, all the articles that I see, all the websites that I frequent on Evernote. That way I have access to it wherever I am. And again, just to make that point further, is anything you'd like to archive can go on Evernote. There's also, creative, inspiring ideas can come into our minds at any time. You can see an article again, and then you're like, wow, I can write a blog post about X or Y. And so I use it also to keep track of all my creative ideas. So if I come up with a blog post idea, I immediately write that into a new note in a notebook that I have for ideas. I can include in that note a link to something that spurred or that initiated that motivation or that inspiration. I can add an image that I think will be appropriate to include in that blog post. So it's a way to kind of draft something or to provide all the information there. That way when I have time to actually write the blog post, I have all the information I need in one place. Again, ideas for tweets. If I see a picture that either I would like to use in a blog post or article I'm writing, or just pictures that I'd like for inspiration in general, I right away include in my Evernote. And then also quotes. So if I come across a quote that I like, I can archive it and then use it in the future. Do you have a question? And with that widget, all those things are on the just tap away. So if I am, it takes literally maybe less than a second to open my phone, go to that widget, click on picture or click on note and take it or write something in it. So it becomes very accessible. Okay. This is a tool that I actually do not use, but I thought was really cool. It's a Twitter handle. It's @myen, and if you go to twitter.com/myen, it will give you the steps. This is actually not a real Twitter account. It's just set up to automate certain things. So they have 5 tweets, and these are the steps on how you connect your Twitter account with myen. And the advantage to using something like that would be you can tag that. So once it's set up to link to your account, you can, if you're writing a tweet, or if you see a tweet that you like, you can repost it or direct message it to yourself, tagging that myen, and if it's set up with your account, it will right away go to your account, to your Evernote account. Does that make sense? So you have to set it up, and once you do, you can write a tweet, tag myen, and then it will go into your Evernote account.
Wow,
Okay.
that's intense.
So you haven't used it yet?
No, I don't think I'll use it.
Oh,
But it's an option. If you're, you can, and the reason for that is you can use Twitter to input things into your Evernote, if you want to use that. Does that make sense? So, I'll cover some more ideas on how you can use Evernote for a business. I think we talked a little bit about it. For financial reasons, you can keep receipts, you can keep your miles. Okay, that's pretty cool, right? You can actually enter your miles as you go. You can enter in a new note, your miles to travel from here to back to the office. That's business miles that you can claim. Also forms that you have. So, if you have any forms that you'd like to keep records of, you can keep it there. I use it again for code and text snippets. One example I read about recently was if your business allows you, or you have certain email scripts that you write to clients, right? Instead of having to copy and paste it, you have to find the file where that is. You can have it in Evernote as standard text, and you can copy it from Evernote into an email and send it off. You can personalize it and so on, and then send the email off. So it keeps record of things that you use on a regular basis. Standard operating procedures and checklists. So if your business allows you to have a certain procedure, so when I do a website, I have 12 things or 20 things or 40 things I need to do, that makes it very simple to go through my checklist to make sure I'm covered everything. Business cards. I've actually used this. I'm trying to use that now. Is when someone gives me a card, instead of keeping it in my wallet or keeping it in this sleeve that I never use, I just take a picture of it and add it to my Evernote account. That way I can have it anywhere. Important emails, as I mentioned, you can actually copy and paste it, or you can send BCC or CC an email to your specific Evernote email address, and then it will be saved in your Evernote. This may not apply to everybody, but if you have specific part numbers that you'd like to keep track of, that you order on a regular basis, having those part numbers will be useful. Again, serial numbers for equipments that you have. This is really neat too. If you're traveling and you want to have, you don't want to, every time you're booking something on Travelocity or an airline, you don't want to have to dig up where your frequent flyer mile is, or, instead of having to dig for that, if you have it all in one place, then it will make it very efficient. I actually have one note in there about things that I need to make sure I have when I'm traveling. So it's my phone charger, my laptop charger. So I make that list, that way I do not forget this, because I'll be devastated if I go anywhere and I can't charge my phone, or I can't charge my computer, right? So having those checklists would make it, would save that brain power, like, do I have everything or not, right? And save that little amount of brain power. Instead of worrying about whether you have something or not, you can go through a checklist and make sure, or feel confident that you have everything that you need.
When I'm packing to come back, I look at it again to make sure I put everything back in to bring home.
I didn't think about that, but that's great. That's a great idea.
Forgotten
So
lots of phone chargers.
each of these things is in a separate folder, right?
It would be in a notebook, yeah.
Notebook.
So
A
I have a
notebook,
notebook
okay.
called Personal
Okay.
Notebook, and this is one of the, if you travel a lot, or if you have many items for your travel, you can have a notebook called Travel, so you can have the American Airline frequent flyer number as one note, and you can have each, so it depends on how much information I have.
Do you have a notebook on business cards?
Not yet, but
Okay, but you could have one, would it alphabetize them for you?
you can organize it by,
You have to type in the name of the
Yeah.
person and the title of the
Search.
note.
Right.
And I just wanna take a picture and
You can
have it
categorize the notes
alphabetized.
by date created. I wonder if you can do it by alphabet. I haven't tried to
Okay.
test it that way, but
I mean, the notebooks
You can do it by
themselves are
alphabet.
alphabetized,
Right.
but I don't think it alphabetizes
The notes?
anything within
No.
the notebook itself that I know of. I'm not
do you have
sure.
Evernote on here?
I think so, yeah, because
Well,
I
we can-
downloaded it here.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe if we have a few minutes, we can see
Okay.
what, because I know there's different ways you can categorize the notes. When I was traveling overseas last year, it was recommended to me to make a picture of my passport in case I lose it and give it to someone I know. Well, even better than someone I know, like my mom or just have it in my Evernote. That way, instead of having to call, my mom or somebody home and say, hey, could you please fax me the image? I have it right there on my note, on my phone or on my computer. And also ID, pictures IDs. You're having records of that you have an ID. If you lose it, I don't know if it would help or not, but at least it would. You have it if you need it.
One danger I find with all the stuff that you're saying to put on the Evernote is if you end up losing your phone, the person has everything. They have all your IDs. You save all your receipts. They have all your bank account information. All you do is just look at that one app and you put down everything that you say on there. That I just think of that as a security risk on a personal level.
That's true. That's true. That's
Good
true.
point.
And yeah, that's a good point.
Passcode protected, so that if somebody did get your phone and went into that app, that they couldn't open it?
You can password protect your phone.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's what
that's
Robert Nissenbaum writes, he's put that
Right.
on Facebook a number of times to do that.
Just password protected?
Yeah, so every time you turn on your
Then
phone,
they can't
you
get
have
anything.
to put a password in.
Right. No, those, and again, security issues are obviously a concern. Privacy issues are also a concern. But I think that's a risk. I don't want to say I'm willing to take, but that's, I don't know if I can comment on that right now, but I agree with you. That's a serious issue,
Something to
right?
think about.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Because in the past maybe 6 months to a year, I'm almost thinking like every time whenever I do something at a technology point of view, things, phone, anything computer wise, okay, what's the risk here?
Sure. Right. I wonder if there might be an app that actually protects Evernote, so that way you have to enter a password to access that. I don't know, but maybe a feature on there. I don't know. Or maybe that's an app that you can.
Create.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Susan, do you have a question?
I was just gonna say, your banking information would not be at risk, because the receipts that you copy in there only have the last 4 digits of your credit card. You wouldn't have your banking info in here, because most of us have a mobile app for our bank,
Yeah.
and your frequent flyer miles don't really,
I would encourage people to use my frequent flyer. I'm just kidding.
yeah. That would be your passport and maybe your driver's license, but
Right.
I wouldn't think the banking stuff would be too.
Well, I know that a real professional identity theft person, if they get all this little piece of info there, there's a reason I don't have my bank app on my phone, but that's a different story right there. Again, just security stuff.
Right.
I use, it's separate from Evernote, but I use KeePassX, which to encrypt all of my secure data, so it just wouldn't be inside Evernote, but it's still all secure and encrypted. It's just one other little
Yeah.
app to have, I guess.
Which actually reminds me, it's a feature I haven't played with too much, but you can encrypt the content of notes. Certain areas of notes, you can encrypt that.
Okay.
Yeah, I know I've come across that, and I think I tried to play with it, but I didn't have a need yet to actually test it out, but you can certainly do that. And again, it's encrypted, doesn't mean it's foolproof, but
Yeah.
it makes it harder for somebody to get it.
And also, you get to choose what you put in Evernote. If you don't
Right.
feel comfortable putting one of these things in Evernote,
Yeah,
then
of course.
don't.
Yeah,
You know?
obviously.